Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the show where a real statistics professor and his friends give you sports betting tips. I'm your host, Professor Side. That's my actual job title and last name, which is part of the reason why the mathematical model that I've built to predict various sports outcomes is affectionately known as Sideline. You'll hear more about the model during the course of this episode. It's set to cover the 7 best college basketball games scheduled to be played on Thursday, March 2nd, 2023. I guess you're here. Check out the webpage on the banner. It's www.pickswiththeprofessor.com/new for some explanations and community rules. See the Google Sheet linked in the show description for Sideline's projection on every single game. Remember, this show covers picks on the best games for the best picks on all games. Sign up on Patreon or Black Book Sports or different packages. Price ranges based on what you are looking for. Remember that sports are unpredictable, so the discussion of this show projects a typical game and does not try to forecast one to a T. That would be a foolish and impossible goal. The idea is if these two teams were to play 100 times, how many would each team win? We know, of course, they only play one, but the proper way to think about this is that they come from that distribution. We always see weird upsets, and we just say we saw an outlier game. We're going to talk about what we think the average game is. In the long run, that's going to be profitable, but you just never know when a team either can't hit or can't miss from three. Stuff, again, balance out the long run, but it's hard to foresee before it happens. In other words, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to say we'll be profitable every single day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Cousin Jared, good to have you back on. It's been a while.
It has been a while. And we were just talking before I came on that like this is the last time I'll be on in the regular season, and then we'll have conference tournaments and then the actual tournament starting and all of the other various tournaments that have different letters. And then I can't believe that we're already getting to the end of college basketball season.
Yeah, we will definitely cover some of all those games, I guess, in the lettered tournament games. We'll have to get really off the wall. I remember some of them get some really small off-the-wall schools. I feel like one of them last year was like only available via streaming or something. It's like, one of them's only like on CBS Sports Network. I mean, some of those tournaments are really small, but like when it's the only game on a Monday night in March, like that's what we're watching,
Exactly. I don't care if they're playing in like a conference room in the Bahamas. Yeah. We're going to watch it.
Has probably happened, to be honest. Some of them feel like that. I do know. I don't want to get too off topic here, but I don't know if you saw that actually happened for a women's preseason tournament or early season tournament in Vegas. They played in like a conference room, and like the backdrop was terrible, and balls like hitting the ceiling, and it was like major women's college. It was like Iowa, I think, was involved. It like was not like two nobody schools. It was like, come on, we could in Vegas, you couldn't do better than this, like with a low ceilinged conference room. Like, come on now. I saw that and didn't remember that it was women's basketball, but I definitely remember there being basketball being played in a conference room somewhere. Yeah, and it's like, but like you said, if that's what's on, that's the only thing that's on, and we can bet on it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got a great show for you here today. A lot of late games if you are a night owl. But before we get to it, some reminders. Please hit that like button if you're on YouTube. Also, if you aren't yet, please consider subscribing or following. It's free. And if you turn on notifications with any of the college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. Because, Jared, I know you're excited for the MLB coming up soon.
Yes, I'm really ready for that one to go. Gavin Lux tearing his ACL for the Dodgers. I don't know who's going to be playing shortstop for them now. Actually, I think it's going to be Vargas. They traded for him from the Marlins earlier this season, but that opens another hole. Anyway, yeah, I'm paying attention. Oh God, don't get me started. The clock. This is great. Being like 2.5 hours. This is going to be wonderful.
I love it. We got to find. We talked about this last year a little bit too, right? People like you and I, like we're going to watch baseball. We're going to bet on baseball. We're going to watch baseball. We love it. Yeah. But like, we've got to make it more exciting for the casual fan.
Yeah.
And it's got to be quicker. I love that it's quicker. There's obviously some wrinkles to work out of it, but yes, I'm with you. I love the fact that we're going to have quicker games. We can get to bed a little bit earlier. I love it. It's all good.
Especially with our team playing a lot of West Coast games, the getting to bed earlier thing would be much appreciated.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've already mentioned the Patreon, but check that out too if you haven't yet. Lots of great benefits over there above and beyond what we do here. Plays of the day, the Discord chat, which is the place to get your questions answered by me, Jake, Cousin Jerry. Just talk about the games, talk about picks, talk about other sports, other picks and other sports, futures, all sorts of goodies over there. It's a lot of fun. We've got ad-free shows. We got early access to projections that come up before the books make lines. Also recently made available to everyone who gets picks is the model needed A grade number for both a money line and a spread. So that's some good information out there. That way, if you want to play a spread, hey, what number the model needs for an A grade play. So a lot of great stuff over there on Patreon. That's patreon.com/pickswiththeprofessor. Even if you're not there though, still thrilled to have you here. Let's get to it. But as always, take what you like and leave the rest. We're going to start off with a little bit of afternoon delight here. One of the conference tournaments here, the Sun Belt, neutral site game. We talked about, Jake and I did a little bit, this one being in Pensacola, Florida. Appalachian State at South Alabama. Going to take the under 130. The model says 128, and both of these teams have been going under by a little bit. South Alabama has been playing fantastic. Their defense has really taken it to another level. They're slowing down the pace, and again, their defense has just been outstanding. It's probably the best unit on the court is their defense, according to the metrics. And again, as of the last month, it's been even better than that. So that suffocated defense, the early start time, the slow pace in this game. Appalachian State, I've got about 300th in terms of pace. Should be a sleepy opening game here. So going under 130 for our afternoon delight here. South Alabama is a 3.5 point favorite. The model says 2.4. I'm not jumping to play Appalachian State, though, whether it's getting points or on the money line, just given how good South Alabama's played. But I'm also not dying to lay minus 170 or lay the hook. If I could lay 3, maybe you're talking on South Alabama, but right now 3 in the hook, it's just not that exciting here. I think it's priced perfectly at that point where I don't really like either side, which I think means they've done a great job. But the total, I think, is a little bit too high. We've been doing mostly overs as of late, but with conference tournaments, neutral sites, you do have some crazy late game foul possibilities, but you also have games that are going to be a little bit more measured, with each team looking for the best possible shot, knowing this could be the end of their season if they don't win. So unders kind of start getting a little bit more profitable here in March. So going to go under 130 to kick us off. Because Jared, what do you got?
So, it doesn't take much for me to be persuaded to be on this show, but one of the only demands that I actually had was we want to start this out with a total play, and it's got to be an under because, some people affectionately call me cousin totals. Anytime that I can get an underplay like this, I'm on board. Early tip in a conference tournament game. Everybody, neither of these teams want to play fast to begin with. You also mentioned, trying to find that perfect shot, especially in end of game situations, potentially trying to run down the clock if it's a close game. So, I like under 130 as well. You're never going to have a hard time persuading me to take an under in a 12:30 tip.
Yeah, and you end up with a lot of times these coaches. It's still in sports, and it's starting to get a little bit away from that in football, at least with the aggression, which is really good to see how well that's worked out for coaches. But you have a lot of coaches who just play not to lose. And what you'll end up seeing is you'll see 5 minutes to go, and these coaches will tell their kids, run the clock down, let's limit possessions in a tight game. And it's like, I don't really see why that matters. It's like, again, you're playing scared and right. And that just, you see that so much here in these conference tournaments for teams that, Iowa, not going to do that, right? And some of your fast-paced teams, some of your teams like Gonzaga with a great offense, they're not going to do that, right? But a lot of teams will kind of operate that way. So it's our job to take advantage of that and play the under and just hope we don't have overtime or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, to the evening games, 7 p.m. Eastern, Michigan at Illinois. Got to start off here with the, story of the month. Leader in the clubhouse for March is Matthew Mayer for Illinois, missing a couple days of practice because after the game Sunday, he drank 5 Monsters, played video games, ended up with caffeine poisoning, which I don't even know if that's a thing or if they're just messing with us. We've heard of alcohol poisoning and I guess you can be water poisoned. Can you be caffeine poisoned? I didn't even know this was possible.
I did not know it was possible either. And we oftentimes come on this show and we talk about how these players are so much better than us. We can't say anything. They're more obviously athletically inclined, so much more talented than we'll ever be. I can completely relate to this. Yep. Maybe not caffeine poisoning, but needing to get some extra energy to play some video games. Definitely been there, especially when I was whatever age that he is. Yeah. This is the most relatable I've ever felt to a college athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I do think he's going to play. It sounds like he did practice today on Wednesday. I see no reason why he wouldn't play. It sounds like maybe his minutes will be limited, but I assume that caffeine poisoning you're going to get over after a couple of days. I assume. I have no idea. I'm not that kind of doctor, but I assume that caffeine poisoning basically just means your heart's racing for for a day or so, maybe a day and a half. So I assume he's totally fine. He'll have his legs underneath him, and so I'm not penalizing Illinois whatsoever. They do have a player that is questionable as of right now. Epps is that guy, one of their guards. It's not that he's irrelevant. He's also not their best player. It's, anytime you're losing the guy, it hurts, but it's really going to only affect the projected spread if he's not playing by about a point. So I don't think that's that big of a deal whether he goes or not. Illinois at home, I think, is the better team. Michigan's been playing better as of late, absolutely. Don't want to take anything away from them. But as we always talk about, we can't get too over infatuated with how a team's played as of late, that the data from 20 days ago, 30 days ago, 40 days ago while not maybe as meaningful, still does hold merit. And I think Illinois is still the much better team at home. I'm all over Illinois here. I think we're getting a great price on the misconception that Michigan is now somehow as good as Illinois, and I'm just not buying it. I'm taking Illinois minus 172. Model says this price should be -2 or -350. So, I mean, the model says this should be way out there. Massive disagreements from the model. Says that anything in the -250s or better is an A-grade play. So we've got a ton of value on this. Says that on average, Illinois wins this by 7.8 points. So the spread is 3.5. If you're liking to play the spread, I don't think I'm worried about the hook. I'm just going to lay that with Illinois too. We always talked about this. I'll go back to the example. The only one's coming to my head always is that like second week of the season, Arizona State was playing somebody, I'm losing who it was now, early in the season, and Arizona State, Mississippi State, I believe. And it was one of those things where I think the spread was 8.5, and I was like, lay it with Mississippi State.
Oh,
Don't worry.
That was Arizona. Yeah, it was Arizona.
Mississippi State and Arizona, yes. And I was like, lay it with Mississippi State. Don't worry. Like you're looking at it and you're like, I'm on the wrong side of 7. Don't worry. And then it went out to 11.5. I was like, you're on the wrong side. Don't worry.
Went to 12.5.
Yeah, I was like, don't worry. Like 14 is the number you need to worry about. And sure enough, the model said they were going to win by like 16, and they actually won by like 18 or something like that. Sometimes you need to really be concerned about the number. Absolutely. I don't think this is one of those. I think lay the 3.5 if you're going to lay the odds here on the money line, like we have been doing lately, shifting to these money line plays. I think Illinois is the right side here. I'm all over them. A-grade play, massive A-grade play according to the model. Total is 144.5. Model says 145.1, a difference of 0.6 of a point on the projection. And both these teams have been pretty spot on with regards to total. So I think it's priced really well. Nothing I want as this total. I just want to focus on Fighting Illini at home. I think they can get it done. I know Michigan's playing really well. They're still not nearly as talented as Illinois is. That's the bottom line, in my opinion. Because, Jared, what do you got?
Yeah, I like Illinois in the money line here as well. You mentioned Michigan playing a little bit better as of late. But there's a reason they have 12 losses. You could also point to Michigan. Well, they've got some good wins, and I will concede that they do have some good wins. But that's just they've been terribly inconsistent, and this is not the type of game that they've been able to win throughout the course of the season. I don't think this is a spot where Michigan jumps up and surprises Illinois here. So I'm like you. I think Illinois is a much better team. I don't think Michigan is consistent enough. So I think the money line play on Illinois is a great one.
Yeah, we always talk about home and road, right? I've been saying this a lot, so some of you are like, we get it, dude. But there's some new people coming all the time, so I want to make sure everyone's hearing it. So if you heard it before, that's fine. Especially in the Big Ten, home teams perform much better. All of them. There's not just your team. I know your team is the extreme. It's not. They're all much better at home. They're all much worse on the road by comparison because they all play really well at home. They have great home court edges in the Big Ten. Big 12 is mostly similar. Pac-12 is kind of similar with those big conferences. You see it a lot, and the Big Ten is the prime example of that. If this was at Michigan, I think I got a shot to win. They're not the better team, but at home, absolutely, sure. I feel like at Illinois, like you said, Michigan's playing so well, they're not going to sneak up on them. It's not like they're going to, Illinois is treating them like Minnesota or something. They know this team is decent enough. They can come play. Michigan's mostly healthy now, and that matters, but Illinois is still the better team.
Well, with that being said, let's go to the next game and contradict ourselves.
There you go, Purdue, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going with our own team here. The difference is Purdue is a really good team in Wisconsin, isn't it? I mean, minus 176. Just like the Illinois, I think this is a gift. I think the sports books are sleeping. By the time you watch this, who knows? Maybe the number is like minus 300. It blows my mind, both of these numbers being so low here. The model says this should be Purdue minus 304. Anything in the low 200s or better. It's an A-grade play, so this definitely qualifies as Purdue on average wins by 7.1. Another situation where, yes, Purdue has not been playing as great as of late. Wisconsin's been okay, I guess. But, I mean, I've got Purdue ranked as the 5th best team in the country, and Wisconsin 92nd. I don't see anybody out for Purdue on the injury report. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe someone knows something I don't. But I just refreshed at covers.com, which is where I get a lot of my injury information. I follow a couple people on Twitter. I've been refreshing throughout the day. Have not seen anybody out for Purdue. And as much as they've been disappointing, maybe they aren't playing like the 5th best team in the country right now, but they're still like a top 20 team in their current form. In Wisconsin, barely a top 100 team. I know it's at Wisconsin, but Purdue is the much better team here. I don't quite see why we're getting such a good value. This spread is 4. Model says 7.1, says 5 or better is an A grade. So if you're playing spreads, I'd lay 4 as well. Again, money line just being a more enjoyable play for my life. And so if I think it's more enjoyable for my life, then it's probably more enjoyable for yours too. So that's why we've kind of made that shift. Total is 126.5, not very many points. Model projects 125.6. So another total that I think is priced pretty dang well, not one with any value, in my opinion. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
I love the Purdue money line play here for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't know how many consecutive times that I've been on this show that we have faded Purdue, and the fact that Sideline has finally flipped here and is now seeing some value on Purdue tells me something. That's the first thing. The second thing was, even when I was on here and we were fading Purdue, a lot of those games they were still winning, they just weren't covering, and so we're eliminating.
They were favored. They were favored by 9, and they'd win by 4 or something.
Yeah, and so we're eliminating that issue here by taking the money line. And according to Sideline, there's still a lot of value on the money line at this number. So those two things together, I think Purdue is a great play. And to be honest with you, it's good to finally be on a team as good as Purdue. It's not always comfortable fading those teams, and so to be able to have a money line play on them kind of makes me feel good.
Yeah, and we were on Purdue one of those weeks against Iowa when it was at Purdue, and they covered. We laid.
Well, that's because exceptions to everything, right?
No,
Iowa on the road. I mean, come on.
I was just going to point out that it worked. That we've been pretty good with Purdue on this zigging and zagging. Yeah. I think the only thing we missed with Purdue was when they played Iowa. But as we talked about with Iowa, with Indiana, when they played, Indiana is like the most confusing team in the country. And that's why I said, don't touch Indiana, Iowa, because who the heck knows what's going to happen. And I watched that and I was like, who saw this coming? Right. Because it was so surprising that I wasn't surprised, because Iowa on the road and Indiana in general are so confusing. Right. So it was one of those, like, who knows, but we've done pretty well outside of Purdue, Indiana. We've done really well with Purdue. So yeah, if Sideline's zigging and zagging a little bit here, I'm like you. I'm like, yeah, perfect. Let's do it. It hasn't let us down really. So why not? Right. The other thing you mentioned there, I just have to prep our viewers, right? We got a lot of new viewers here that weren't with us for baseball season, but you made a comment that I think is going to plant a seed in our viewers' head. We're going to take a lot of dogs that are not comfortable. So it's always fun when we take a favorite, because in baseball, we take a little more dogs than we do here, and it works. Yeah. But man, like you said, sometimes it's not the most comfortable play.
Yeah, get ready for us to be breaking down who's batting in the 2-hole for the Oakland A's. Because it's coming, people. Yeah,
it is. And someone on Discord mentioned this, and he was talking about how uncomfortable he was, and I said, "You're doing it right. If you're just making the comfortable plays, Uncle Tony over there is making the comfortable play. Uncle Tony loses a lot of games, right? Because that's what everyone's doing. Right? You got to kind of find the ones that are a little uncomfortable. We're gonna make a lot of those. So this was a fun one. I like this. Like you said, it's always we got to relish the comfortable plays, because it's not always that comfortable. And a lot of times it is." A lot more gut-wrenching. Yeah. Also at 9 p.m. Eastern, UC Santa Barbara at UC Davis. This one should be a fantastic contest. You've got a really fast UC Davis team and a really slow UC Santa Barbara team. I've got UC Davis 38th in pace, UC Santa Barbara 324th. The best unit on the court will be UC Santa Barbara's offense. And as Cousin Jared, as you always talk about, if a slow team's playing a fast team, it's easier to speed up than slow down. So we're going to go over 139. The model predicts 144.2, a massive over edge in what should be a really good Big West game. UC Santa Barbara's a better team, but on the road right now it's UC Santa Barbara -1. The model says -1.1. So with regards to the spread or the money line, I think it's priced really well. It's about a toss-up game, and right now the line's about a toss-up. Don't think you're going to find a huge edge there. Again, better team on the road. Who really knows? And you're not really getting great odds to capitalize, but this total has a really good chance of getting into the mid 140s, upper 140s, flirting with 150, 139. Way too low. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
As somebody who's lost his fair share of UC Davis unders, just go with the over. That's really my analysis
simple
of this game. Yeah, UC Davis is one of those teams where it's like in the middle of the second half, you're going to be like, oh, I feel okay about this under. And then the last 10 minutes, you're like, this is not how I saw this playing out. So
it's like
just lost one too many UC Davis unders is what I'd say.
Which they said, they're one of the fastest teams in the country, and they've just so many possessions, and they don't have to speed up UC Santa Barbara that much to get us to 139. The average number of points in a college basketball game as of late has been closer to that 144 number the model predicts. And like I said, I think this really gets over that even. I think this gets up closer in the upper 140s, given that the UC Davis just speeds up UC Santa Barbara just a little bit. Tight ball game, late game fouls, a lot of ways. This gets up way over this. It's a great over, in my opinion. 10 p.m. Eastern, going to stick in the Big West. UC Irvine at UC Riverside might be the game of the night in this conference. You've got UC Irvine, probably, maybe, potentially the best team in the conference. Got a lot of teams real close, but UC Irvine's a really good team at UC Riverside. It's just like I mentioned in the last game, and then it's a coin toss game. I've got UC Irvine winning on average by 1.2, so we're going to take the plus 102 plus odds, and a coin toss game is always a great value. I always talk about that. If you can go up to a roulette wheel and they'll give you plus 102 on red or green, right? Assuming they take away the zeros, or red or black and they take away the zeros, I guess, right? And that's an investment you should be making. And this is an investment you should be making here. It doesn't mean you want to put all your bankroll on it, but it's a good long-term investment. It's the same strategy we're going to use a lot of times in baseball is find these coin toss games at plus odds.
Yep.
We're going to win about half of them, and at plus odds, it's going to make us money in the long run. That's what we're all about here. So taking Irvine plus 102. I think that the better team, that they got a good chance to win. Model says they win 52% of the time. So plus 102 offers B grade value, not quite to an A grade at plus 112. It would be an A grade. So not quite to an A grade, but still pretty good value on the Anteaters, which is also a great value name. Total 146, model says 145.9. So other than that one total, the totals so far have been priced really well. Hats off to the books on pricing these totals. So just going to stick with the road dog here. Slight dog, but I think Irvine's got a really good chance to win. What do you got, Cousin Jared?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I think these are two evenly matched teams, so let's take the plus odds. The only other thing I want to say about this is there's a couple of Pac-12 games that we're about to talk about that will be on in a similar time window as this one. Watch this game. I think this is going to be a really good game. You don't always necessarily get the opportunity to see two really good teams like this in this conference all the time. So I think this is the game to watch. If you're going to be up a little bit later, this is the one I'll be tuning into.
I think you should watch this game, but I feel like it's going to be hard to tell our viewers not to watch the next game, just to be fair. Arizona at USC.
Yeah.
You probably should watch this one too. We got to find a way to watch both, right? It'll be better than the last game that we're going to talk about.
Yes.
At least watch the first half of UC Irvine Riverside. Keep that flipping back and forth. USC Arizona here also should be a fantastic contest. Sideline says Arizona minus 1.2, says they win 52% of the time. They are favored by 2 right now. And the money line price at minus 128, not really great value in Arizona. They win more than they lose. Minus 128 doesn't offer us a lot of value, so it's not a play I want to make. Plus 106 on USC, not good enough to get me there. It's a D grade play at this point. Basically means it's a coin toss that the price is really, really well. What's not priced well, in my opinion, is the over, or the total going to go over 155.5. Model says 157, but get this, the model has been underestimating Arizona and the sportsbook both by about 7.5 points per game over the last month, USC by 5.5 points over the last month. So both these teams have been playing great offense. We know Arizona can get a little lackadaisical on the defensive end. Arizona plays with a ton of pace. USC plays in the top half of pace. That pace is addicting. They're probably going to speed it up here. It should be a really good game. I don't know who wins, but I think we got a really good chance to get over 160 in this one. Again, model says 157, but knowing how over these teams have been, like I said, I really think 160 is probably a better number. I love over 155. Big number. Should be a ton of points, though, in a game with two really good offenses. Cousin Jared, what do you think?
There's very few times with sports gambling where you're like, hey, I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing when this happened. I remember exactly where I was when Arizona played their either first or second game in the Maui Invitational in November. And I don't know what the total was. It was like 160. And I was like, there's no way these teams are getting to 160.
Was that Creighton?
I think it was Creighton. And I watched the first 15 minutes of that game. And I said, this game's going to go to like a 180. I have just never seen a team, or at this point in the season, I had not seen any team play like Arizona was playing in that game. And that's just stuck with me all season. So yeah, I'm with you. Over 155.5 here. And the sideline and the books have still been missing them by 7.5 points is all that I need to hear. Man, Arizona just loves to get out and go. And that memory of I don't even know the words to describe the first few minutes of that game. Man, it is just something to behold. So yeah, Arizona taken under. I don't have to be sold very hard on that.
Creighton was the last game of that tournament. The first game was Cincinnati, and that game finished 101-93. So yeah, I mean 194 points in that one. Probably not going to get to 194 here. That was a little bit more free flowing. Being a tournament game out in Hawaii. Those Hawaii rims are really soft. I mean, there's usually always a lot of scoring there. But Arizona plays fast. USC doesn't really mind playing a little bit faster. These two offenses are great. I've got Arizona at 4th, USC in the top 50, and Arizona's weakness is defense. It should be a great game. Better team on the road. Don't know who wins, but yeah, it should be a lot of points. Big number, but one I'm not afraid to go over. Also at 11 p.m. Eastern, Apple Cup action here. Washington State at Washington. A little bit of intrigue, a little bit of rivalry. It should be a close game. Again, not as exciting with regards to quality. Washington State's a solid team. I don't really think they're on anybody's bubble, but I don't think they're that far away. I think they probably should be an NIT team based off where I rank them. I'm not sure they're getting that respect. They played a really tough schedule. They've lost a lot of close games. These two teams have similar records. Washington's 15-15 at Washington State's 15-15. Washington 16-14, but I don't think they're that similar. I think Washington State is a lot better than Washington. So I'm going to take the road team at minus 128. The model says it should be minus 133. So we're getting a little bit of value here, taking the road favorite. I just think they can win this game. I think they're the much better team. Model says they win on average by 2.4 points. And if we can get down to minus 110 would be an A grade. So not A grade value here, but still I think a worthwhile investment here, getting the much better team, even though they're on the road. It's a short road trip. The Pac-12 has great home court edges, but a lot of that has to do with long travel. I think it's a little bit diminished here because it's obviously short travel. Not that Washington won't be up for it, but the travel fatigue won't be a factor here in this one. Cousin Jared, what do you got?
Yeah, I like Washington State here as well. We've talked about it a few times that we've been on here. I think Washington State's record is a bit misleading. I think they're a better team than what their record indicates. Me personally, I think Washington, they're just kind of like a meh team. They're not that great. I don't think. I think Washington State is a clear half step or full step above them. I do like the money line play here, though, because it reminds me of college football. In some of these rivalry games, it's just better not to mess with whatever crazy line you might be. Of course, it comes back to bite you. So I like taking the money line here just because a conference game, rivalry game late in the season, who knows what could happen. So let's just take the money line, be safe.
Yeah, right now the spread is 2. But I'm like you, it's not like it's that steep of a price here at minus 128. Right. Just go and lay that. Then not worry if they win by 1 or 2, we still get the win and don't have to stress too much about it. All right, that's all the games we're going to cover. Anybody words? Cousin Jared.
I again just can't believe that we're getting already to conference tournament time, NCAA tournament time, NIT. Don't know where the time went, but I'm excited. This is like from January to the end of March. It's like, okay, it's really college basketball season. So
yeah,
exciting.
Yeah, and we're officially into March here, recording this Wednesday before any of the Wednesday night games. So Wednesday night here, we've got some conference tournament games. Talked about one of them here. There's a bunch more on Thursday. These smaller conferences getting rolling. The West Coast Conference here is getting going shortly. So, it's picking up day by day, and we're adding an extra conference tournament to the fold, and the next week it'll really start coming. So great time of the year heading into the tournament. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Picks with the Professor. Don't forget to subscribe so you can ensure all the sports betting content provided on this channel. It's dropped right to your feed. I'll see you again tomorrow with more college basketball betting content. And until then, as always, best of luck. And remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.